Welcome back, everybody, to today's show. What a Friday edition of the program we have ahead of us. I've said this to you before. Sometimes, I'm always excited for the show. All of you are here, etc. But sometimes when I look at the stories that we have, I go, oh yeah, this is going to be a good one. As always, I'm joined by producer Cole, and actually not as always, producer Kayla, who I think we still have labeled as producer Jaden. Producer Jaden's on vacation, and a reminder that, oh my gosh, we have producer Kayla labeled now, yay! And we do wish Jaden the best. Finally getting a good vacation. This is the first time we've gone a week without him doing the show in forever, since they started working for the show maybe, or maybe there was one other time. But we have gotten through it, and Kayla, I think the consensus among the audience of this week is that they love Kayla. That's very exciting.
It's because I'm also, what did you say, a sweet pea?
Because
I'm also a sweet pea.
Yes. Okay, so today on the show, we have Trump updating us on Iran and declaring victory again and again and again, even whenever it's far too early to say that. Steve Bannon seems like he's peeing himself while he's advocating for, literally, for a third Trump term. You got RFK Jr. and the raccoon penis story just refusing to quit, and Paula White, Trump's spiritual advisor, getting more and more creepy with her advocacy. It's getting genuinely concerning. If you missed this, Paula White, who runs like the religious office of spirituality and awesomeness office in the White House, and she's also Trump's spiritual advisor, and she has been just openly saying that Trump is sort of like Jesus. And then she tried to go on television, which we'll review today, and convince us that Trump knows scripture well, and he'll actually cite specific sermons from his childhood that he remembered. Interesting story nobody believes. And a press conference Trump held. Just so much. Let's waste no more time and get right into it. I want to do two things in this segment. First, show you clips from a pretty bonkers press event or brag event of Trump's where he's talking about the benefits of his disastrous one big beautiful bill. And then give you kind of, as this was happening, you had an announcement shaping up to be made about Iran. So those two things, wait around for the clips that we'll get into. But first, let me play this one, then we'll talk about Iran.
Probably about $4,000 or $5,000, and they wanted to raise your taxes. The great big beautiful bill also slashed taxes on millions of American small businesses, including restaurants, dry cleaners, corner stores. What is a corner store? I've never heard that term. I know what a corner store is, but I've never heard it described, a corner store. Who the hell wrote that, please? And more.
A real man of the people doesn't know what a corner store is. Now, let me quickly explain it to him since he was confused. Do you know what a store is? Okay, now just picture it's on a corner. Like, what? I think you could pick up context clues. And how do you not know that? It's whenever you've never shopped for yourself for anything, and some assistant or butler goes and does it for you. He speaks about Iran, which is where we have the big breaking news.
And all over the world, they laughed at us, and they don't laugh anymore. They are not laughing. They're not laughing anymore. I don't think anybody. Just ask those. I don't want to be a wise guy. I don't want to speak too soon, but we do very well. You notice that we're doing very well, and I will say the war in Iran is going along swimmingly. We can do whatever we want, and it should be ending pretty soon. It was perfect. I mean, it's perfect. It was the power we have, our military. We have the most powerful.
The gall to say it went perfectly when you still don't have a deal, when there's been economic chaos, and remember, something Trump never speaks to, it seems, 13 American heroes are dead, and dozens, hundreds of children are dead, not to mention hundreds of other civilians. And so Trump's response would be, well, that's war. Okay, what was that human cost and then financial cost of the, $60 billion or something we've spent thus far? What did that accomplish? Really, all they can point to is there's been a demolishing of military targets and hindering of Iran's military. Okay, in the long term, what does that do? they would rebuild. A part of what's shaping up to be the quote-unquote peace deal would funnel a lot of money to them that would help them fund their rebuilding. And the same regime is in place just with a younger leader. So like, what was that human cost and financial cost actually for? To say it went perfectly when you literally blew up a school full of children on accident and whenever American soldiers lost their lives is pretty darn insane. And I think if any other president said that, especially a Democrat, right-wing media outlets would have a big problem. Now, here's the big news, and then we'll get back into the press conference. You did have Iran's foreign minister say on Friday that the Strait of Hormuz was completely open for all commercial ships after the ceasefire in Lebanon. So that was one of the things they were saying was justifying during this ceasefire period between the U.S. and the Iranian government. They said, we're still going to close the Strait of Hormuz because Israel is still attacking Hezbollah in Lebanon and then just attacking things in Lebanon in general. And if that continues, we're going to keep blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Apparently, there's a pause on that, which is what's causing them to say, we'll open for the time being the Strait of Hormuz. Trump, though, is going, we're still going to block Iranian ports until a complete peace deal has come to fruition, raising uncertainty about what happens next to shipping in the Strait. Of course, uncertainty is the name of the game here. And then Trump said Thursday that an in-person U.S.-Iran talks would take place over the weekend, though there were few signs of an immediate breakthrough. So what you're going to see, I'll give you a few different takes, starting with Benny Johnson. And by the way, Benny Johnson should be shaking in his boots. We're preparing something that just might be the end of Benny Johnson's career. So get ready for that, Benny. Have fun while you can. But people like him who are just kind of MAGA hacks and sure on whatever Trump does, framed this as victory. All this is the ceasefire, temporary ceasefire that is supposed to be a negotiating period that Trump already announced is actually kind of going into effect now. So it obviously wasn't, but now they're saying now that Lebanon, you have a ceasefire there, for the time being we'll open it. But then Trump's saying we'll still block Iranian ships. So a lot of confusion, but if you were to watch Benny Johnson, you'd think it is all solved.
You hate to brag, you hate to say that it was good to be a plan truster, and you hate to say we were right because we didn't light ourselves on fire, lose our minds, burn our MAGA hats, or throw ourselves out of a skyscraper window over the last couple of weeks when seemingly every person on planet Earth crashed out and lost their damn minds over President Trump's risky gambit in Iran. And while there are plenty of things that I wish had gone a different way, at the very least, you can keep your head when everybody else is losing theirs. And then you can, roll with the punches. And here's a punch that you should be excited to roll with. President Trump has just...
Is that how that phrase is used? What? Roll with the punches? And so take this punch, but good in terms of from the standpoint of a good punch that you like. You know, whenever you ask someone to punch you during... Okay. Yeah, you can finish that joke, whatever. So he's going, everyone was panicking, but we were right. Iran's agreed to do what Trump already said they had agreed to do, but now they've only agreed to do it now, and it could immediately collapse because they haven't actually reached a peace agreement. Victory! And we knew this, didn't we? You can take that down, Cole. We knew this, that the cheerleaders of Trump, if he could just get Iran to agree, even if it means we make a more advantageous deal for them than was in place before, or that was in place that Obama negotiated, as long as the Strait of Hormuz gets open, they were going to pretend like that was a huge victory. But remember, if this war hadn't been started at all by Trump, it was already open and free. And this is only for a temporary ceasefire period. So is this good news, by the way? I should specify this. Yes. Iran's conceding on something. It looks like the U.S. government's getting ready to concede on a lot. And I want us to find a way to get out of this. But we're also not going to let people gaslight us into believing this means the entire war was justified. For example, this reporting scoop, U.S. considers $20 billion of cash for uranium as a part of a deal with Iran as these peace talks continue. Whether Iran takes the offer is another matter we might find out in Islamabad this weekend. Tommy Vietor responds, Trump is going to pay Iran $20 billion to ship out its stockpile. And the reason why people are taking note of that is because, remember, as Aaron Blake points out, 10 years ago, Trump savaged the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, for giving Iran 1/50th of this amount of cash. Trump wrote back in 2016, our incompetent Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, was the one who started talks to give $400 million in cash to Iran. Scandal. So as they examine the concessions the Obama administration made to get Iran to agree to our demands about their nuclear program and preventing them from having a nuclear weapon, they were willing to give much smaller amounts of money or smaller amounts of sanctions relief to get the agreements from Iran. And that was a scandal in the Fox News right-wing world. And that was funneling money to a terrorist-supporting regime. And now, because Trump got himself into a situation he can't find a way out of, he's considering giving even more to them for even less. So I want to figure out a way to get out of this. But we also have to be clear about how the only routes out seem to be pretty disastrous. Ron Filipkowski says, no one declares victory after losses more often or loudly as Donald Trump. Even Ann Coulter, who's been one of the biggest Trump supporters for a very long time, said, yay, the strait that was open before we began bombing Iran is open again. Everybody pretend this is a huge victory for Trump so he'll end this catastrophe. That is a good point. Should we fake it? Yay, that's amazing! To get him to end this thing. Rupar says, so the story Trump is telling this morning is that Iran agreed to open the Strait of Hormuz, and yet the strait remains closed to Iranian shipping because he says so. The math ain't mathing. And then you have Trump's post saying Iran has just announced that the Strait of Iran is fully open and ready for full passage. Thank you. Mehdi Hassan says, can you imagine if Joe Biden had said this? The Strait of Iran? Isn't the whole point to make sure it's not the Strait of Iran? And it's not completely under their control? Really weird. I guess that was a mishap on his part, but symbolic for what it looks like shaping up here in the outcome of this war. But still, we don't know, and still there's negotiations, so who knows? Back to the my tax cuts were amazing and definitely didn't disproportionately benefit the rich press conference.
Earlier this week at the White House, I met a wonderful woman named Sharon Simmons, a grandmother driving DoorDash to help support her husband's cancer treatment. She's got serious cancer. She's going to be okay, I think. Sharon delivered McDonald's to the Oval Office. It was a little bit of a, to be honest, it was a little tacky. They come up with these crazy ideas like McDonald's, although that was the biggest ever on Google. They say #1 ever. And the garbage truck. I mean, we do these things in politics. They're a little embarrassing. They're a little tiny embarrassing, but we do them and you win by landslides. It's one of the... So we got to keep doing them. No, we got to knock on the Oval Office door. This does not happen. That's the first maybe in the history of the Oval Office. And it was a very beautiful woman standing there with 2 big bags of McDonald's hamburgers. And I say, is this really believable? But the point of it was she...
Okay, so he's even crapping all over the stunt they did where someone who is very certainly authentically explaining the way that Trump's tax cuts have benefited her, and it's definitely not a ploy, no, shows up and goes, here's your McDonald's, and Trump's like, oh my gosh, it's a DoorDash driver, and even Trump admits that was a little bit cringe.
I just feel like that wasn't the flex he thought it was. Also, again, I feel like I touched upon it earlier this week, but I feel like the definition of a failed state is having someone's grandma have to work to deliver McDonald's food because she needs to pay for the cancer treatment of her failing husband, and there is no social safety net to cover that. Just DoorDash and maybe, tips in the kindness of strangers. That's probably a perfect... Him standing next to her and forgetting the tip is a perfect picture that encapsulates the Trump administration.
That is such a deep point that has not gotten enough coverage, which is that they're trying to frame it as a sweet story about, look, because of Trump's no tax on tips or reduced tax on tips, that is a part, by the way, of a bill that if you look at the combined effect of it, the lowest income Americans literally lose money and the highest income Americans gain a lot of money. But in there, you have one little something for average Americans, and that's supposed to make us go, aw, she's DoorDashing to the White House and she has to DoorDash as a DoorDash grandma because her husband needs his cancer treatment paid for. Was that the story?
Yeah.
And that's supposed to make us feel good. That's a failure of our system, as you're literally gutting the very social safety net programs in that bill you're bragging about that are supposed to address problems like that. Wow. Great point, Kayla. I wish more people were talking about that. And then you have Trump saying this.
Our country, a year ago, our country was an embarrassment. And all over the world, they laughed at us. And they don't laugh anymore. They are not laughing. They're not laughing anymore. I don't.
Fun fact, Kayla. I want you to see if you can get this trivia question. Who was president of the United States 1 year ago today?
1 year ago today, I think it was Donald J. Trump.
How does he forget that? Everyone was laughing at us a year ago. Dude, that was April of 2025. You were president already at that point for multiple months. That's when you start. You're right. People were laughing at us a year ago, but they're just still laughing at us. Back then, they were laughing because of your tariff war. Now they're not laughing, but horrified by your actual war. Then you have them saying this as well.
Years. Don't forget, we're having some fake inflation because of the fuel, the energy prices, which everybody said was going to 250. We were talking about that, Scott.
Okay. What is fake inflation? Does that mean people don't have to pay higher prices? Okay, if they do, then it is real inflation. Even if you're saying it's temporary, that's different than fake. And we know the shockwave from this, even if we get a resolution. It's true oil prices dropped and the expectations of oil prices dropped, but there is an economic shockwave that's not immediately going to go away because of this war, even if today there was a complete and total peace deal, which we have no reason to believe that would be the case. He tried to claim he wasn't a senior, age-wise.
In addition to no tax on Social Security, over 51 million seniors now pay. Seniors are loving me, and I love them. Of course, I'm not a senior, so I cater to the seniors, but I don't happen to be a senior myself. Thank you very much.
All right, there we go. Okay, not a senior. If you're not a senior when you're 80, it's not a derogatory term. It's just a descriptor. Seniors are wonderful. We should respect them more than we do as a society. Except right now, I feel like there's a lot of disrespect toward the older generation. And in a lot of other countries, there is more, as I said, respect, awe given to those who have lived many more years than, for example, me. But in our culture, we don't really do that. We're like, nah. But what we should do is take all of the disrespect people right now target at just generally seniors, take it all and just target it at Trump, and then be respectful to everybody else. Is that good? I think that would solve a problem. There's one guy that does deserve the disrespect, and there it is. An Iran war announcement that is really just Iran finally agreeing to what Trump claimed they had already agreed to for this ceasefire negotiation period, and then him wandering all around mentally in this press conference. We have a lot more to talk about. I'm so excited for the rest of the show. That was kind of like the big news in terms of pressing, but everything else is even more fun, or it is fun. Do you want to read this out, Kayla, and then we'll get back to the show?
Yeah, we got 4 things to call out. Patricia Niagro, X74, welcome as a new supporter. Isaiah Schultz, hey, welcome to you as another amazing supporter. We also have a message from...
Let's see. Who is the message from?
Oh, the message is from Sophie Bliss, and she said, I think just a thumbs up. And she appears to be from Canada. And then the last message is Akon007, who says that Kayla's a wonderful addition, but let Jaden know he was missed. And then they said,
you can clap for that.
Perfect. Nailed it. Yes, I just want to be clear. The praise towards Kayla is about Kayla as an individual. It does not take away from the deep sadness we have about Jaden not being here. Jaden is invaluable, as is Cole and Kayla, but the addition of her has been pretty darn epic. Let's get into this. It should be much more of a bombshell that people around Trump, former advisors to him, people with a lot of White House connections, and Republicans are constantly speaking about a third Trump term. Now, my first question is, do you really think he could get all the way through a third term? Like, aside from the constitutionality, have you seen him lately? But okay, whatever. Not saying he couldn't. I'm just saying he wouldn't. But I want to show you Steve Bannon speaking to this and then really struggling to defend his plan for how Trump's going to have a third term. But I got really distracted as I was prepping this segment because it genuinely looks like Steve Bannon urinated in his pants. And I need you all to help me figure out what's going on. So here's Steve Bannon, MAGA podcaster, former Trump advisor, walking on stage. And take a look at between his legs.
Your fans are here, or one of them. Thank you, sir.
I want to thank my agent.
So I was just thinking, we were here.
Okay, so you might go, I don't know, was that a shadow? Maybe. What is this? That's not a shadow. That's not. Are you able to zoom by any chance? Might struggle. Look closely with your eyes, or maybe I can. You can leave this up, Cole. Maybe I can zoom a little bit. That's the best I can do for you. What are we looking at here? There's just podcast listeners. Picture his pants are a gray color, and then right down where you would urinate is a much darker color. So maybe he's just so excited for a Trump third term, unconstitutional Trump third term, that he's urinating himself. I don't know. It's very
Fact check,
confusing.
true.
A lot of people are speculating. We don't know. So here's him being asked, do you think J.D. Vance is the successor to Trump?
Is J.D. Vance heir to the MAGA movement? Is he the heir apparent?
I don't think MAGA has President Trump. And as you know, I'm a huge advocate of President Trump's third term. So right now, I think...
You're not just saying that to mess with J.D.?
No, not at all. I think you guys all paid your taxes here yesterday. Are there anyone in the room who would not vote for President Trump and what he's trying to do with this economy? President Trump is...
Yeah, the vast majority of Americans, based on polling, Trump used to have good poll numbers on management of the economy, and now he has terrible numbers. He's underwater on the economy. So I don't think that argument makes any sense. Aside from if they could think of a loophole, Trump would lose, or he should lose. I think he would lose. I don't want to be the guy who says he would definitely lose, and then he wins, and then you're over. But I don't think he's going to end up running. It's blatantly unconstitutional. It's extremely dangerous. But of course, it is massive that the disrespect towards our Constitution and the principle laid out and why that amendment was added is so brazenly expressed by these people. I do understand, however, feeling doubtful about J.D. Vance being the heir to MAGA. Because how could someone who walks with this posture be the president? Podcast listeners, he was out walking on the tarmac, and I don't even know how to describe this. I really don't. He's like trying to do a strut or something. Like he's picturing that he's on one of those, what are those called? Like where models
like a runway?
A runway, but his arm is bending in a really weird way.
He looks like how I feel like everyone looks when they have to walk across stage during graduation, and it's like the first time they've been pursued by that many people, and you're just like, I have to stand up straight.
But you kind of feel like you can hear him going, get it. You know what I mean? I can kind of hear him in his own head going, get it, JD, get it. And feels like he's crushing it. And
You're killing it, JD. You're killing this right now.
Shoulder bend like that. Anyways, so there's that. And remember the last time Steve Bannon actually got grilled on this third term statement, it didn't go well.
Here it is, the Constitution. Can I read a passage to you? Amendment 22, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. And yet you keep talking about Trump's maybe you should have this. Here, just put that.
I'll get you to sign it backstage and underline.
I will.
President Trump didn't bring up running for a third term. Myself and others brought up running for a third term. President Trump is going to run for a third term, and President Trump is going to be elected again on the afternoon of January 20th of 2029. He's going to be president of the United States.
Okay, but the thing I just read in there, it seemed like there was no wriggle room there. It seemed like it was just, 8 or 10 words that said only 2 times.
We have a team of people that are working. A team.
How can a team do something about that? What? I don't care if the team is 12 trillion people. The words are still the words.
Bill, every day in federal courts, right now in federal courts, there's 120 lawsuits on what President Trump's doing for his Article 2 rights. on the unified executive theory. But he's chief executive, he's commander in chief, and he's chief magistrate and chief law enforcement officer. There's 100, and they're running to court every day to sue President Trump, all because the interpretation of this is open.
Yeah, but a lot of it is kind of hard to interpret based on hyper-specific situations. The specific part about how many terms you can serve is pretty specific. That's not one where it goes, what does the Constitution statement about this topic mean as it's applied to something the Constitution didn't specifically address, but we have to interpret what the intention. It's not that. It's like you can only do it 2 times. Done. And then if you try to do the wiggle room wriggle room as Bill Maher described it, and they're trying to come up with a plan for like J.D. Vance to run as president, Trump as his vice president, because then he wasn't elected twice as president, but then J.D. Vance could resign and then Trump would become the president, and he wasn't elected more than twice. He just became president more than twice. Here's the reason I'm not as concerned as some about this, even though it is concerning, even just the floating of it, is because by the time Trump hobbles his way into the end of his term or into the beginning of the 2028 election season, he's going to be so politically toxic that if they want to try that, you know what? Go for it. Try to run JD with the promise that he'll resign and Trump will take over for him. Try it. See what happens. Here's more from this. I don't really care about what he says in this clip, but just examine what's going on, because someone wrote in a super chat, I hope Bannon peed himself. Otherwise, that's the worst case of swamp ass I've ever seen. That was my concern too. Is that just sweat? Is that sweat in between his legs? Because there's no way that's the design of the pants. Why would they make right there super dark?
Kind of my observation has just been that like it just feels like in Washington, like the money always wins when there's a conflict right now. And I think that's sort of what you observed too. Why is that? Why do you think that like the kind of movement right is getting rolled by the kind of corporate
It doesn't
right?
always get rolled. What I said last time also, I said, hey, you're going to have 2 choices. You're going to have Mangione or you're going to have what turned out to be Mandami, right? You're going to have
I don't know who Mandami is. I know who Mangione is. I don't know who Mandani. Wait, what did he say? Mandami. Who is that? I know someone named Mamdani. No Mandami.
Turned out to be Mandami, right? You're going to have, and Mandami's populism on the left actually thinks it's more of neo-Marxism and jihadism. But but it's very effective. What they've done is copied us on how to get out the vote. The Working Family Party and DSA down in Texas, where they won some big state elections. These people are just like us. They get out and get low propensity voters. You should not discount them. They're very, very tough. But when we say the money wins,
Mandami. Very interesting. I would focus a little bit less on that and a little bit more on what liquid is causing your pants to turn that color. I don't know what, or if that's the design. Is there any way that's like a really trippy shadow? Is there any way? It doesn't feel like it would be, but I'm very distracted by it. Meanwhile, Trump's other defenders like Howard Lutnick are just having wishful thinking. Like, we're going to have 6% GDP growth annually.
Fundamentals of the U.S. economic underpinning remain, right? The war changed that model. It created fear and uncertainty. But the growth rate in the United States will hit 6% under Donald Trump's leadership. It will hit 6% annual GDP growth under Donald Trump's leadership.
But not this year.
Well, let's see. Let's see. I mean, you have today, if the Straits of Hormuz open.
There's always a band with like the Lutnick thing at the top, and then like you got Treasury down here and the Democrats down here, but you're holding it at 6%?
I am, because
6%. You remember Q4 2025, wasn't it like 1.4% or something? And then we had a contraction quarter, and Trump's average GDP growth so far since he got into office is significantly slowed from what Biden handed him, and Biden was up near 3%, like 2.8%. So what are you talking about? That on an annual basis, not even just one outlier quarter, but like on an annual basis, you'd have a 6% GDP growth. You need to just focus on getting back up to Biden's numbers before you should be wishing about that. And meanwhile, Bessent is like, I know people say they're not happy about the economy, but people say a lot. They're probably secretly happy.
Why aren't we seeing this sentiment? Why aren't people feeling better?
Well, I when I was in the investment business, there are consumer surveys, but I used to look at what are the people really doing. So at Treasury, we have loads of CEOs come through, whether they're in retail, credit card, the banks, and the consumer, while they may be sounding grim, is actually quite buoyant. So we are seeing spending has been very solid across most categories.
So they might not feel good, but...
Well, look, in their heart of hearts, they feel good. I'm not sure what they're telling the survey.
So they're just making stuff up now. Don't worry. Maybe you're not happy now, but just get ready. We're going to have insane growth. 6%. I mean, it'll happen. Didn't Howard say we were going to have something really high in quarters that have now passed and we didn't have it? But he's going to keep pushing that down the road. And then Bessent is saying, all right, people say because they're goofballs and they're making a joke that they're unhappy with the economy. But then right after they get off those survey calls, they're like, haha, got him. Prank. I love the economy.
He's saying it in such a way also where his proof is if they hated the economy, then why are they still spending? As if we have a choice. Like, that's his argument. If they really hated the economy, wouldn't the dollar stop? Checkmate, liberal. Like,
yeah.
No, we have to because food costs money? I don't know.
People say food is expensive, but they keep buying it. What do you think of that? That's a good point. Quickly, before getting to our next segment, just a couple things. Tinker Kells said Sharon Simmons has been used 3 times to promote the big, beautiful bill, but they act like they don't know each other. TYT covered it. I saw that too, that person who delivered the DoorDash. I don't think she's lying. I think she's just... They have her contact information, and she's a Trump supporter, even though she wasn't willing to say if she voted for him during the press conference, which was kind of funny. And she wasn't willing to say that she supported Trump's stance on trans issues. But regardless, she does get called upon multiple times. They've done this before. They'll have someone run up to Trump and be like, oh my gosh, I work at this restaurant, and I love you so much, and you've saved my life. And they're like, wait a minute, you're like a part of a Republican organization that supports the Trump campaign. That's how they create some of these moments for sure. Doesn't mean she's not a real person with a real husband who has cancer and I'm sure she actually works for DoorDash. But that is an important bit of context. Chris Stokes became a member by clicking the join button. You will now get the entire Booze and the News bonus show tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Everyone will get the first half, so be here at B Square, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, another live, and then we'll switch it over midway through to just members once we start getting drunk. Then only the members get to see that. Band LND 4C4. I don't know what this is. Just a reminder to my fellow Virginians, the redistricting vote ends on the 21st. Get out there. Absolutely. Cold open on this next segment.
Think penis. Penis goes right through your mind. Mm-hmm. I want the penis. They're going to clip that.
And indeed, you can take that down, Cole. They did.
I want the penis. I want the penis. I want the penis. I want the penis. I want the penis.
And we have it on the soundboard.
I want the penis. I want the penis.
That's right. So what is that in reference to? Well, I'm about to show you the wildest series of clips from RFK Jr. that we've seen in some time, including in a hearing this gets brought up, and you have on different issues, just him completely flopping in a public hearing where he's supposed to be justifying the actions of the Trump administration and of him at HHS. But first, he cannot run away from the raccoon penis. So if you missed this, a story came out that we've now covered probably too much about his diaries that I guess his ex-wife held on to and then gave to someone, and they're writing a book about it. And in his diaries, he says, all of my family's so weird. And I was thinking about that while I was cutting off a raccoon's penis. A dead raccoon, to be clear. It was dead already, but then he cut off the penis to study later. And what I've determined after thinking about this for a few days is that it was, excuse me, everyone's judging me for the raccoon penis story, But you rub you. This is when I picture him thinking. You rub rabbit foot. I rub raccoon penis. I'm picturing he's like, I'm just going to keep this. Some people keep a rabbit foot, right? In their pocket for good luck. I'm going to keep a raccoon penis. And just like them, I'm going to rub it in my pocket for good luck. Is that so crazy? And he doesn't really want to answer anything on this.
Hey, mate, I just got one question. In all seriousness, what is your fascination with roadkill and dead animals? I know you've done a few things, notably with a whale, with a bear, with a raccoon more recently. I just want to know what the fascination is, sir. Anything? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't he strap a whale carcass to the top of his car, and then it like flooded inside of his car, the liquids, and then he was drinking it or something? I don't know. I mean, I added that last part, but then he was asked a different time.
Secretary, what did you do with the raccoon's dead penis? Where is it now?
It's in my pocket. I rub it when I get nervous.
Why did he laugh?
I don't know. He just giggles. That's creepy. That makes it even more creepy. Yeah. Say nothing or say something. Don't just giggle. That makes me feel weird. And this had to be brought up. It just had to during his testimony in Congress.
Shape their outcomes. At the most basic level, children can't go to school if they're sick. They can't learn on an empty stomach, and their families can't get ahead if they can't access health care. I'd like to first talk to you about your proposed cuts to medical research. I was reading an article this morning that talked about your affinity to perform your own medical research. You apparently once cut the penis off a road-killed raccoon to study them later. You speak fondly of medical research, yet your budget cuts show that the National Institutes of Health are going to get a cut of more than 12%. This level of cuts would halt promising research, force layoffs of scientists and research staff, and undermine America's global leadership in medical intervention.
So a very important point from Adelita Grijalva, and it's good to see her in Congress, finally, after all the delay of swearing her in. But it gets more insane. Like, you would think the raccoon penis would be the craziest thing he'd have to answer for. No. It gets worse, and I'm going to show you that clip in a second when he tries to claim that Trump is very sane. But what's confusing to me is everyone's focusing on the raccoon penis. There's other stuff in these diaries that's pretty notable. We talked about this on the bonus show. Kennedy's relationships with women were also highlighted in the book as the pages recount how he contended with what he called lust demons. The book alleges how he cheated on his first wife, Emily Black, with his second wife, Richardson, and then on his second wife with his third wife and his current wife, actress Cheryl Hines, along with numerous infidelities throughout. It also describes a sort of conquest log kept in the back of his diary, which included names of women and numbers 1 to 10, which denoted different sexual acts.
Are we sure that RFK Jr. isn't a perpetual 13-year-old boy trapped in an old man's body? Because playing with roadkill, being obsessed with raccoon penises, and rating women on 1 to 10 feels very teenage boyish to me. Not, something that the head of the health. Oh my God, I can't.
I know. Can we say perpetually an 18-year-old boy? I don't really want to think about 13-year-old writing about sexual positions. So let's go ahead. Yes, I do understand your point. Just for the record, we're going with 18. But I don't even think an 18-year-old documents in a diary. Just have first of all, don't cheat. But second of all, have your sexual conquest. What are you rating or documenting all the sexual positions you were in? That's so creepy. Sometimes there were as many as 3 entries per day, including some where the word victory was added with exclamation marks. He also referred to some random sexual encounters as muggings, a code word. Yep. Got mugged on the way home, he wrote in one entry. I've got to do better. During a trip in 1999, he wrote that he made it through a difficult week without acting out. I'm proud of myself because the sirens were on every rock out there. So I don't even care as much about the raccoon penis as I care about him saying he got mugged on the way home, describing having sex with someone on the way home from work, presumably. How does that even work? What does that even mean? Explain, Bobby, to me, please. Well, you see, sometimes when I rub the raccoon penis, I get really horny. I don't know what to do. Ever since I cut off the penis of that raccoon, I get really horny and I go have sex with random women. And I make them dress up as a raccoon. Okay. Anyways, so there's that. But more substantively, RFK Jr. was asked about the mental state of Trump after his I am Jesus post on Truth Social.
Mr. Secretary, should President Trump fail a mental fitness test or an evaluation about his mental stability or emotional stability, would you vote to invoke the 25th Amendment?
There hasn't been a president who's more
Mr. Secretary, my question is, would you...
If you ever question if you should trust RFK Jr. again, remember that he was talked over a little bit. What he said was there's never been a more sane, and then he's trying to say president in history. Or maybe a sane individual. If you try...
The 25th Amendment.
There hasn't been a president who's more
Mr. Secretary, my question is, would you...
There's never been a president that's been more sane. Well, we all know that's not true, so that's just ridiculous. And by the way, if someone's going to come out publicly and defend Trump's sanity, it shouldn't be RFK Jr. Hey, if you're worried about the president's sanity, don't worry. The raccoon penis guy thinks he's sharp as a tack.
Vote to invoke the 25th Amendment. Mr. Secretary, reclaiming my time. It's my question, Mr. Secretary. Would you invoke the 24th Amendment if he were to fail an assessment of his mental stability or emotional stability?
As I said, President Trump is the most...
Apparently not, Mr. Secretary. Apparently not. Mr. Secretary, we can all see that this president is mentally unstable, emotionally unstable, and is unfit to lead this country. You, as the nation's top health official, have a particular role here. And you are choosing your loyalty to Donald Trump over your loyalty to the Constitution and keeping the faith with the American people. Thank you, Mr.
There it is. Yeah, that doesn't convince anyone. And again, I don't think RFK Jr. proclaiming you to be sane helps your case to the public at all, given what we've learned about him. And then you have him being asked about Trump's threat to eliminate the civilization of Iran.
Earlier in this hearing, Representative Takano had referenced Truth Social posts from the president, and I believe I heard your response to be that he was the most sane president. Do you care to comment any further, or is that your...
If you look at that Truth Social post, I was pointing out the last line of it says, "God bless the Iranian people." So it was clear that he was sending a nuanced message. He was sending a message of brute force and violence to the mullahs to incentivize them.
The mullahs, he calls them.
To change, but also sending a message of love and compassion to the Iranian people. So you can look at it and say, oh, it's insane that he'd make this kind of threat. But he's a deal maker. He's a bargainer.
Thank you, Mr.
That was the worst justification I've ever seen. Civilization die tonight. Let me pull this up because I don't think he quoted that correctly at all. A whole civilization will die tonight. Stunning through social... Oh, it's deleted now. No, it's not. Here it is. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have a complete and total regime change where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary, wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight. One of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. Okay, he did say God bless the people of Iran. And after threatening to eliminate them all. I was thinking about the open the effing straight post, and I was like, I think he didn't say God bless. I think he said praise be to Allah. But okay. But RFK Jr. says really that was a post of compassion, of love for the Iranian people. Listen to this part again.
Force and violence to the mullahs to incentivize them to change, but also sending a message of love and compassion to the Iranian people.
That reads as a message of love and compassion to you, threatening to wipe out their entire civilization, Bobby. It's just, you're not going to be able to recover from this. One day, you're not going to be a part of this administration. And then you'll have to live a life and contend with the absolute disgrace that you are. And maybe it'll help you deal with that to rub your raccoon penis. Okay. I should. Dang it! I can't laugh. I shouldn't have served in Trump's administration. Cheryl, where's my raccoon penis? I'm having a panic attack.
Everyday Americans, every day.
Just picture just rubbing it and rocking back and forth.
And have you had conversations with those Americans who will lose their health insurance this coming year or next year because of the cuts to Medicaid? Have you met with people who have lost their health insurance?
First of all, there are no cuts in Medicaid. There are no cuts in Medicaid. Look at the CBO report from this week. We are increasing Medicaid spending by 47%
so we've got,
over the next 10 years.
So over $1 trillion comes out over the next 10 years. Report after report says 15 million people could lose their health insurance.
How is that a cut?
Okay, let's talk about
that. That is only a cut in Washington, D.C.
Have you met with any of the 1.4 million people who have lost their health insurance just this last year from dropping off?
How are you going to say that there's no cuts to Medicaid? That's not even debatable. Now, you can try to do but the cuts are going to come from the people who weren't supposed to, blah, blah. But we know that millions of American citizens are going to lose their Medicaid coverage. That's just a fact, and we know that for certain, and he tries to lie about it. And then finally this.
You've also cut funding. You've also, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to exercise some restraint. You're a Kennedy. You know how oversight hearings work. And we don't want the second graders to think that your interruptions are rude, disrespectful, or impatient. So I'm going to have to ask you to just allow me to finish my questions.
Oh, brutal. Finally, that's how you need to talk to him. All right, before we get into our next segment, just one super chat that I need to address. Bilbo Jenkins said, Lukey, the safe word for tonight is banana. There's the line. And you crossed it. Here it is. You crossed it. My line is like way deep. You want to sexualize me? Fine. Have fun with it. Who cares? You want to say cutie, flirty comments to be silly? Great. Talk about safe words? Crossed. Bilbo, you should know that. It's okay. I still love you. But, banana. I'm saying it. Banana. So, the safe word. If there's any safe words that are needed, it should be raccoon penis. Just saying. Okay, let's talk about this now. We discussed a little while ago the deleted White House event that they wiped from their account for Trump's Easter event, and it makes sense that they did. It seemed they weren't actually intending on live streaming it, but they accidentally did, so they're like, whoops, delete that. And it went wildly, and Paula White's like, this man, you think Jesus suffered? Trump has suffered more on Easter. Well, I'm going to remind you of those clips of the wiped White House event. Then we're going to check in with Paula White, who went very viral for this disturbing event where she says some crazy things. So let's remind ourselves of that. And then again, I have new footage to show you of Paula White being cray. Paula White is can I just finally actually describe this correctly? I always just call it like the Office of Paula White Loves Trump Religion thing. Paula White, what does she do? Senior advisor to the White House Office of Faith. That's her technical position. So she goes up there. She's kind of a spiritual advisor to Trump, whatever that means for someone who's not spiritual at all. And these were some of the clips. Look at the headline was, "Lay hands on him. 6 wildest moments from Trump's now deleted Easter event with evangelicals." So this is just refreshing your memory. Then we'll look at what she said more recently.
I'm going to ask something. Would you all stand and just, if you're comfortable, stretch your hand towards our president? And even if, Reverend Graham, you'd like to lay hands on him and Pastor Robert, and just come in agreement with me for 2 Chronicles 7:14.
Lay your hands on him. Some might respond to that by saying, oh, I'll lay my hands on him, all right. I wouldn't say that. I'm saying some people would say that. I wouldn't say that. Obviously, that would be bad. But some people said that in response to this, and I thought you should know. And then this was the most viral part.
I've heard many people take credit for you being here, or for some of your victories, and for being in the sacred office of the president. But the truth of it is you are here because of God and because of you. And I just wanted to share this thought and then pray over President Trump. Jesus taught us so many lessons through his death, burial, and resurrection. He showed us great leadership. Great transformation requires great sacrifice. And Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price. It almost cost you your life.
Life? The way she says that. It almost cost you your life. Like this is all out of a TV show. Life is the word. Life. What are you? You're not, what? You're what? Okay, so she talks about Jesus, death, burial, resurrection, and then goes, but you have paid a price bigger than anyone. Right after she finished talking about her Messiah.
And Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price. It almost cost you your life.
It almost cost you your life. I have a Paula White. Mr. President, I thought that Jesus was my favorite, but you are now. A little Clinton. Does it sound low? It almost cost you your life. Oh no.
You were betrayed.
They tried to put you in bondage. They tried to put you in handcuffs. And you said banana.
And arrested. And falsely accused. It's a familiar pattern that our Lord and Savior showed us. But it didn't end there for him, and it didn't end there for you. God always had a plan. On the third day, he rose, he defeated evil, he conquered death, hell, and the grave. And because he rose, we all know that we can rise. And sir, because of his resurrection, you rose up. Because he was victorious, you were victorious. And I believe that the Lord said to tell you this. Because of his victory,
you're going to get to, let's just go. I don't believe it's going to be like this, obviously. But like, picture she walks up and she's like, I have finally died and I'm going to heaven. And she walks up to the gates. And then Jesus walks out and is like, hello, Paula. And she's like, obviously I get to, I lost it. Obviously I get to go in through the gates of heaven. And Jesus is like, Paula, you've been rejected. You're going to hell. And she's like, what? I spent my whole life being Christian. They're like, did you miss that you did one of the big things, which is not to worship false gods? And then you were trying to make Trump Jesus? She's going to be very confused. She's going to be very, I'm not saying you're going to hell. I'm not saying that. I don't believe in like, burning forever. Things, that doesn't feel like a just God, but whatever. Point is, if it was her thought process, I don't think that by her logic, Jesus would like that. And then one other clip from this event.
Because the United States can't take care of daycare. That has to be up to a state. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare.
Yeah, so I don't think he would have admitted that if he knew this was going out to everyone temporarily. Now, this is an insane clip. She then goes on television, this is the more recent clip, and gets interviewed on Real America's Voice. And I am certain because Aaron Rupar never puts like edits or extra music. He's just clipping from the show. It looks like for her to talk in this interview, Real America's Voice played a song behind her so it would feel churchy. Watch this. She's in an interview and they start doing like inspirational church music as she talks about how godly Trump is.
Well, finally, Paula, I know that you know the president well, and he certainly has had an interesting journey in faith, but everyone's path is, of course, unique, my own included. People probably want to know how his faith has grown or deepened since his time in the White House, especially after Butler, Pennsylvania. So give us some insight into that.
Well, Bo, you just said it. I mean, look, his foundation of faith was very strong. His mother was a very godly woman, praying woman. They went to church all the time, Sunday, but they also went to Sunday school, sometimes Saturday school, and he will say, and if the teacher was good, sometimes he'd go on Tuesday or Wednesday. So his foundation was very strong. His father would take him to Billy Graham crusades. He went to Norman Vincent Peale's, loved Norman Vincent Peale. He had a lot of influence on him. He stayed till Norman Vincent Peale actually retired at the age of 92. And then as he grew in popularity and a businessman, and as so many people do in life, he didn't attend as regularly. He went through some own life decisions and crisis of himself.
So are you referencing, but she hasn't even gotten to the most crazy claims she tries to make, but some life decisions, are you referencing whenever he was cheating with a porn star as his wife was home with a newborn? Or are you referencing that he cheated on every single one of his wives? Which part are you referencing? Or that his wife accused him of rape?
And I think when he reached out to me about 25 years ago, he was watching people on television. If I started naming him, you go, oh my goodness. And he can quote to you so many sermons. I mean, profound. But there was that, gap in.
He can quote to you so many sermons. Paula, who is that for? And why do you have piano music playing? Podcast listeners, this isn't like, I don't know in what context you would ever have piano. This isn't a pre-recorded video. She's on the White House lawn, and they put, unless someone else did that, but I'm almost certain that was in the original broadcast, they put slow, churchy piano music behind her as she going, Trump is the most holy man. Do so the Spirit, you are welcome here. And Trump made some weird life choices, like getting spanked by a porn star with his magazine with his face on it. What's the music for? In an interview.
He's always had faith in his life. He's always known Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. But Butler changed everything. Because at Butler, when he...
They're trying to take us to church. They're trying to take us to Trump church. They want the audience to be watching and be like, oh, there's slow piano music. Whenever a pastor's talking at church and they start doing like the synth, and they're like, today, I want you to remember. And because of the music, it feels so much more profound. They're trying to do that with mother-loving Paula White. What the hell? This is crazy. This is just a random clip of her while we're doing a Paula White deep dive.
Mark it out and put my name in there. It's important that you write in your Bible. So right here, I'm Jeremiah 46, the word of the Lord which came to Jeremiah. I'd cross it out. I'd write Paula, just like that. And I'd look at it. Now I know literally how to study this, but I was taking this saying, God, what is this saying to me? What are you speaking to me? And I started with the book of Psalms.
She's such an ego Christian too. It's all about me. Now, I know a lot of, if you're Christian, what you're exploring is the takeaways you should have, but I don't feel like she has the capability to turn it outwardly. And so she's literally crossing out names in the Bible and replacing it with Paula. And then God said to Paula, that's me. What is he saying to me? Me. Maybe I'm Jesus. Do you cross out Jesus and put Paula? She puts Trump. Yeah, she crosses out Jesus and puts Trump. Now, if you're thinking, Luke, we've talked about Paula now like 3 times and you haven't played this clip. Okay, fine.
Strike and strike and strike and strike and strike and strike until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory, God. I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory.
This was about Trump's campaign, if you missed that.
I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. For I hear victory, 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 victory in the corridors of heaven. In the corridors of heaven, victory, 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 victory. For angels.
I could do that. Okay, ready? Winning, winning, I hear winning. I'm spinning, for God I'm winning. Let's win, and mana, win, win, win. Mama said, yes, get it, trip it, flip it, bop it, and twist it, and flick it, and bop it. He says winning, 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 winning. Can you get the music? There's a boom, boom, boom. There's a song somewhere on the soundboard. Come on, find it. Winning. Sure. And I'm winning, winning, and bop it, and twist it, and flick it, and swish it, and bop it, and spin it, and back, and to the left, to the left, to the left, to the left. Now kick, now kick. Now we're walking by ourselves. To the right. Why does she get all the people just chuck money at her, thinking she's doing something for the Lord, and it's just for herself?
What am I doing in life wrong?
Right. You can just shout victory over and over, and people will give you millions of dollars.
Apparently.
Angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda ata ata rata teda baka sanda ata ambo osa tata rite eke banda ata rike didi ashata. For angels have even
So that was her speaking in tongues. I really don't want to offend anyone, and I respect people's belief system. If I don't know what you're saying, why are you saying it? Again, I know there's something deeper and all of that, and about the thing, but I don't know why in front of people you are, anyways, doing that. Some people like the remix version better.
The Lord says it is done. For I hear victory, 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 victory in the corners of heaven.
Yeah. I'm sweating from that. Now, this is like the blasphemy administration. Someone wrote in the super chats, we're not going to the break yet, but I just do think this is relevant. I don't offend easily. This is Cyrus, or Sirius NST. I don't offend easily, but that Paula woman's downright offensive. This proves that she's a false Christian. No one should worship a man. Exactly. And there's all of these Christians or Catholics, more specifically, who... if Biden was going to war with the Pope like Trump is, they would be calling him the Antichrist. And instead, they're choosing Trump over the Pope and starting to question if the Pope even knows anything about the Bible. And so Sean Hannity's like, you know what? As opposed to going, this is a fight I don't want to get into, or maybe Trump should stop attacking the Pope, he's just like, all right, fine. Now Pope's our enemy.
Change that law. But right on cue, Pope Leo XIV is now seemingly more interested in spreading left-wing politics than the actual teachings of Jesus Christ. As the AP put it, quote, Pope Leo amplified his condemnation of America's conflict with Iran, saying that God does not bless any conflict and certainly doesn't side with those who drop bombs. Well, first, that is simply not biblically accurate. The Bible contains over 400 references to war, frequently depicting God as authorizing, commanding, intervening in battles like one that we all know, the battle between David and Goliath. Why is the Pope twisting religion to specifically attack only President Trump and the U.S.? Why did he recently meet with top...
He meets with a lot of people. I don't care about that part. David Axelrod, he meets with a lot of people. He's the Pope. So, do you remember in the last segment, Cole, that we covered of Sean Hannity? He had one example he could think of, and it was David and Goliath. And now he's doing another segment. And do you know any other stories than David and Goliath, Sean? No, really. I'm actually curious. Other than that scripture that John something that is at every wedding, maybe, and other than Noah's Ark, Noah in the whale, Jesus's death and resurrection, and Adam and Eve. Do you know any other stories, Sean? And David and Goliath? I feel like you don't. Okay. Yeah. What about the Jesus part, Sean? I think that's what the Pope's referencing. Because the Old Testament's like, wow, it's a wild ride, but what's up?
Does he realize that we're Goliath in that?
I know! That's what I said! I know! David and Goliath. You know, David was the good guy, and we're definitely the big one. If there's a giant, we're the giant. We're like the big boy. And then there's some weird justifications like Michael Knowles saying this while doing very weird things with his hands.
This is an anti-Catholic and coincidentally anti-Trump op to try to split the Catholics from the president and the president from the Catholics. That's what this is. That's what's going on.
So it's a left-wing op to split the Pope and Trump, even though the Pope... What? How do we cause this? The Pope said something about wanting peace. Trump freaked out over it. That's it. How did we cause this? We didn't, is the answer. Okay, checking in quickly with the audience. You have Jim Flagg saying our forefathers were Presbyterian and saw that there needs to be a separation of church and state. Can we please get the religion out of our politics? True. John Hanna said, it's shameful when the left presents words out of context. Watch the original Make America Great Again. Start with Black Men, 19 Keys featuring Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Part 6, Lefties Do Better. The hell does that mean? What are they saying? It's shameful when the left presents words out of context. Is this a link maybe that just got put into text? Part 6, Lefties Do Better. Start with Black Men. 19. Does anyone know what this person's saying? Is this an attack on me? If not, and it was just something I'm not understanding, apologies for my tone, John. I do apologize. But it feels like you're accusing me of putting something out of context, which I don't do. Unless you're talking about this.
I want the penis. I want the penis. I want the penis. I want the penis.
But I appreciate you watching nevertheless. The Unusual Suspect said, fun fact, the Bible does not say once ever that you can't have fun times before marriage. I feel like it talks a lot about sex being about marriage, but, you know, I don't need to get into a whole biblical thing right now. I almost did, but I'm not going to. You can't get me there. But thank you for the comment. Sundance, but I personally think that there's... Let me just tell you here. No, I don't need to. I obviously don't think it's immoral to have sex outside of marriage. Or guy on guy or girl on girl, obviously. So obviously I don't think that even if you found the scripture that would make me think it was immoral. But interesting. So that said, can your sound guy, it's Kayla right now. Sound girl. Can you sound person do Tucker laugh or Alex Jones crash out? Roar soundbite. Do Alex too, just for fun.
I just heard that for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
I'm changed now.
It's pretty good, huh? All right, let's talk about this. We are now beginning a story as we speak that I could not know less about, and that is Meghan Markle, who, if you follow some right-wing channels, is like the biggest villain in the world, apparently. Now, I don't keep up with the royal family. I don't keep up with Meghan Markle. I watch her in Suits, and I like to rewatch Suits a lot, so I like her from that. I know that she's the Duchess of something, of Sussex, right? And she's married to Harry, Prince Harry, and that they left the royal family, and then there's beef. But I don't know why American broadcasters. So I'll leave that to the UK folks to decide what they feel about that. I don't know why there's American podcasters who have so much vitriol toward Prince Harry and Meghan. And I'm actually asking, am I missing something? Like, I'm going to show you in a second here, Megyn Kelly being like, Meghan Markle is a bitch and a blah, 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 blah. And it's like, what? In what world is this a focus of yours? And why are you so angry? And this is the clip she reacts to. So I'm admitting up front that really what I know is the first clip and then what Megyn Kelly is responding to. Not all the context of this debate. I kind of remember maybe like the Oprah interview. I remember little aspects of it, but it has never been something I've kept up with. But if you just look at the clip that Megyn Kelly is responding to of Meghan Markle, this is confusing. Megyn Kelly seems absurd. So look at this. Here's the clip. You can literally put this up for me, Cole. You see, her official Megyn Kelly show account responded to this Sky News clip of Meghan Markle, and it says, the Duchess of Sussex said she was bullied and attacked for 10 years on social media during a visit to a mental health charity in Australia. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex were speaking to young people about the effects of social media. Let's watch the clip, and then let's see how upset Megyn Kelly is about it.
Every day for 10 years, I've been bullied and attacked, and I was the most trolled person in the entire world, man or woman. I'm still here. And so when I think of all of you and what you're experiencing, I think so much of that is having to realize that, that industry, that billion-dollar industry that is completely anchored and predicated on cruelty to get clicks, that's not going to change. So you have to be stronger than that.
3, 2, 1. Yeah. And one more.
So that's the least controversial clip I've ever seen in my whole life. She says, I've been subjected to social media hate, and my advice based on experiencing that is don't believe that is going to change the incentive structure on social media. The hate mongering, the bullying, the way that when people are behind a screen, they feel more bold to say things they would never say to your face, and instead develop resilience and understand that you can be strong in the face of that. Now, of course, Meghan Markle's like a big celebrity, so I'm sure she feels like she's at the center of the world and has some of those aspects that so many celebrities do. But why a statement like that would spark any vitriol from Megyn Kelly, I don't know. Let's watch.
To feel important, you wanted a short form to mega fame. You weren't getting it done on Suits, so you decided to marry somebody way more famous than you, and you sought to glom on to everything he had. That made you a target because you became a large public figure. Every public figure has been subjected to negative scrutiny, often very intense and unpleasant. You had the benefit of universally loving and adoring, praise, fawning press for a year. When you started dating him, a biracial American princess, oh my God, the US press went nuts. The Brits, who are woker than we are, were self-flagellating themselves in every paper for not having had anybody of color in the family.
What a slip up. No one in color? Oh!
In every paper for not having had anybody of color in the family. They were bending over backward to welcome you into the royal family and chastise themselves for not having had somebody as diverse and interesting as you prior to that. It was pathetic. And then you blew it by being a bitch and a bully.
Whoa. She said kids need to be prepared for a hateful social media world and not let that hurt their self-esteem.
Did, in the Piers Morgan fashion, did Meghan also not get back to her?
Wait, what?
You don't know about Piers Morgan's thing about Megyn Kelly? Or about Meghan Markle?
Ah, yes! Piers was like, I even tried to go out on a date with Meghan Markle.
And he's held a grudge about it since, I guess, I don't know, 2 minutes ago maybe. We have to check in and see again, but I'm sure it's still going.
That's why he stormed off of that show that he was on. Yeah, I do know that about him. I remember that. So, Kayla, explain to me. She says, didn't you mention to me, Kayla knows a little bit more than me about the whole Prince Harry, Meghan Markle saga. All I know is that she was a paralegal in Suits. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's who I see when I see her. But did I hear that Harry pursued her?
Yeah, it's like apparently he had seen her like on the show and then also around in like their social circles and was like, I need to talk to that woman. And then like eventually somehow the narrative became like, no, but then she like hunted him down and like made him like fall in love and then made him marry her because she has some plot too. And then it's like question mark, and then profit because no one can answer what the plot was.
Yeah, and he's a prince. I think he can decide who he wants to date.
And not even the one next in line for the crown. So, like, who cares?
Who cares? Who is next in line for the crown?
The bald one? Phil, I don't know their name. Philip?
Phil?
Is it Philip?
Philip,
He looks
Prince
like
Philip.
a Philip, maybe.
So, I don't know. I don't know. I've seen Meghan. I'm sure if I look this up, Meghan. Let me show you guys this. Meghan Kelly, Meghan Markle. I bet there's so many headlines about Meghan Kelly dubs Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's hospital visit a photo op. Shame on you. Meghan unloads on Meghan Markle. Meghan blasts Meghan Markle. You go back. A lot of these are from the same day, but I feel like I've heard her, Meghan Kelly mocks Meghan Markle back in January, constantly talk about Meghan Markle. Wait, what is your investment as an American political commentator in the now retired from the royal family couple? Like, I can't even find an interest in my brain if I tried. And you don't have any attachment to, like, but they left the royal family. What the hell does the royal family mean to me? This is America. Yeah. No, I mean, and I'm not as aggressive. I obviously don't believe in a monarchy, but if you're watching right now in the UK and you're like, hey, I don't know, that's up to you, I guess. And it's just symbolic. So if you're like, it's a symbol of our whatever, okay. But I don't invest myself in the British royal family. Is that crazy? I mean, I'm a little busy on the guy who wants to be a royal family in this country.
I just feel like we have bigger fish to fry. I feel like there's a lot more going on than an ex-prince and whoever he married. Like, I don't have time to care about that, I guess, because there's, like, maybe at the end of the day, once I've, like, worried about everything else that's happened that day, the day before, the 4 years previous, and the 4 years previous before that, maybe then I'll sit down and think, like, how did she get him to fall in love, and why? And then I'll fall asleep.
And then I'll see these sorts of people play clips from her cooking show and be like, what a narcissist. You can see in her face that she hates everyone around her. And I'm like, what? Really?
She acts like she invented gnocchi. That was the Italians. Like, it's that energy. It's like, it's like, oh, how dare you be over there sitting? I can't believe she's sitting like that. And I'm like, I don't get it. Again, maybe I'm missing something. Yeah. But again, as an American, I can't, and I don't. And again, Meghan, if you're talking about that, I guess you're just trying not to talk about your, dementia-riddled president who's trying to blow everything up. Maybe it's just that.
Oh, and we get to the point. There it is. Beautiful. Yeah, exactly. That's why. Because we never have time, because there's hundreds of issues we could talk about just about what's going wrong in our government right now. But she doesn't want every single segment to be that. She will call out Trump now occasionally and often even. But if the whole show is that just reminds everyone that the person she supported is destroying everything. So she has to find some way to talk about something where she's crapping on a perceived liberal. But if you're going to do it, pick an opportunity where it makes sense, not when she's sitting with kids and being like, hey, be brave out there. Social media is tough. And Meghan Kelly runs into the room and is like, hey, kids, she's a bitch. And just calls her that in response to her just being like a totally normal person to kids. Anyways, so that's that. I hope you had fun with our very limited knowledge about it. Giovanni Courtney said, fun question. If you could add a word in the dictionary, what would it be and what would it mean? Mine is wang, a polite way to say wanker. Is wanker a word in the dictionary too? Wang. If I had to pick a word, it would be, let me think. I think booba. I started saying booba instead of boobie because I didn't want YouTube to flag our segments about Brian Gnome's boobas. And then I started really liking it. So maybe booba, which just means booby. Or is janky? Janky's a real word, right? We always love janky. But I'll go with booba. Yeah. And then you got Mimi saying Prince William is next, then Prince William and Princess Kate's son, Prince George, I think is his name, then Princess Charlotte, then Prince Louis. Me! Cool. Good for them. Have fun. Have a good time. What do you say?
One of my friends, his favorite thing to say is about him. He's like, in America, we don't have a monarch, but we certainly have a queen.
Who?
Our president who's always talking about kissing men.
oh, that's tight. Yeah. That's funny. Sorry. I totally botched the reaction to that. I'm like, Okay, let's get into this now. We're so used to it. We're so numb to it, but we shouldn't be. It's not normal that our president is constantly at all hours of the day and night freaking out over the most random things. Often he'll be like, no one even cares about this influencer, that one that's such a loser. And you're like, you're the president and you're talking about them. That seems like people care about them. So let me go through the most recent examples in the last day or so. He lost it at Jessica Tarlov and then at some of these right-wing influencers. So let's start with the Jessica Tarlov post he sent out in the evening saying, I'm on Air Force One heading to Las Vegas in Arizona for greetings and speeches on no tax on tips, a windfall for our great American citizens. I'm watching one of the least attractive and talented people on all of television, Jessica Tarlov. Yeah, her voice is so grating and terrible, I had to turn her off. Her Democrat sound bites are fake. She makes up poll numbers and nobody challenges her because she is so boring. I have among the best poll numbers I've ever had, and why shouldn't I? All the country does is win. CNN had me at 100% saying they never saw that before. Get her off the air. She's bad for our country. I hear Meghan Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens are dying fast. Their numbers are terrible. Nobody believes them anymore. They were fake MAGA, and now they've been exposed. President DJT. Here's the clip that made him so upset at Jessica.
So you want her to be the nominee in 2020?
No, but the twisting of what I was saying is crazy, Kellyanne. I did not say I want Kamala Harris to be the nominee. I said that the argument that you're making against the Biden-Harris administration falls flat when you look at what the Trump administration is doing.
I'm going to look at the fact that Trump got elected on running against the Biden-Harris economy. And what do people think of him now? He has a 35% approval rating in most polls.
He's not a politician. Yeah. He doesn't care.
He's not campaigning.
Stop saying that he's just opposed to the apprentice who came to save us.
Look,
the guy has been in office.
You can't understand Trump because his political decisions align with his personal and patriotic ones. You understand Kamala. You understand Gavin. You understand Biden because their political decisions are divorced from the things people want. Why are you on the 20 of every 80-20 issue? Is because you divorced political desires from human needs. And then you have to dress up your decisions.
So we'll keep listening to this. I'm sure Jessica eventually responds, but it was that citing of the polls that Trump gets so upset about. And you heard that in the post. Greg, this is so performative. You're so embarrassing. And why are you reading off of a piece of paper? You had a pre-written rant against Jessica Tarlov written out? That's so creepy. But if you're claiming she's on the 20 of every 80-20 issue, explain to me why she's opposed to Trump, and that's the majority position right now. The majority of Americans are opposed to Trump, Greg.
It's compassion when they're merely wants from an activist class. The thing about Trump is, I don't care whether you like him or hate him, you're suffering from the Trump-America alignment problem. Political, personal, and patriotic desires all stack up, which means what he wants, the country tends to want. If it's 80-20, he's on the 80, you're stuck on the 20.
You're just making up numbers. Like, that's not even close to true at all. And their only defense, some of these people who are still hanging on defending Trump, is, well, Trump won the election. It's so upsetting. I almost said triggering. It is triggering, but that's such a meme now. I am a triggered lib, though. I am, I'll say it, about the intellectual rot, disgust. It's like your brain is turned into just a mushy piece of poo, and you can only think of one counterpoint to every criticism of Trump, which is, but he won the election. Imagine if every time you criticize Biden for the withdrawal from Afghanistan or his age or et cetera, all I went was, well, then why did 80 million people vote for him? Why did 80 million people vote for him? Why did 80 million people vote? Yes, presidents get elected, but then they have to govern, and then they can mess it up so bad that people don't support them anymore, and your defense has to be on the substance of the issues and not just on the fact that they got elected. Otherwise, we'd have nothing to debate about their governance. Yeah, he got elected. And then people don't like him anymore. Engage with that. Were you going to say something?
Oh, no, I was going to say that I don't think his mom ever gave him so if all of your friends are going to vote for the violent guy whose brain is deteriorating, would you too? Like, it's like that's like we were told that from kids. If your friends jump off a bridge, are you going to? No. Just because the majority are doing it doesn't mean it's right. Also, they're not, like you said.
And it's right. the majority, it wasn't even majority, the plurality of Americans voting for Trump doesn't make Trump right. Just like what you said, which is the childhood standard response from your parent when you say, all my friends have phones, or, oh, I did that drug because all my friends did it. And they say, well, if all your friends jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge? And you're like, oh, got me. So it's not even right philosophically. But also, if we even want to do an appeal to public perception, then we would be the ones with the argument. Because of where polling stands.
He's on the 80, you're stuck on the 20.
They wanted the tariffs.
Your defenses are getting more and more narrow because you say, we keep saying the same thing every day. It's because we have to, because you don't listen.
I do. All I hear in my head is your voice.
You know what? You're lucky. This is the voice of God.
No Americans wanted the tariffs. They didn't want the war in Iran.
They
don't want the ballroom.
What do you got?
What do you got?
Look at what you have on your side. It is a clown car of carnival atrocity.
They didn't even let her talk. So anyways, the small percentage of the time in that clip she was able to talk sent Trump into a spiral. He then was spiraling about other people, saying, it's easy. Tucker's a low IQ person, also easy to beat and highly overrated. So are Megyn Kelly, Candace, really dumb and mentally ill, and bankrupt Alex Jones, who's completely fried. There are others also. Then we have some of that. Then we have some that are very good. True MAGA all the way and smart. I should do a list of good, bad, and somewhere in the middle. Wouldn't that be fascinating? He's just talking to himself. Wouldn't it be cool? I did this. I could list who's good. I could do it. Check it twice. Gotta find out who's naughty or nice. So that's that. And then he sent out an even longer post saying he's just melting down always. Who's dumber, Tucker Carlson or Joe Kent? It's very interesting. I met Joe Kent. That's the person who resigned from the intelligence position, the counterterrorism director position because of the Iran war. I met Joe Kent at Dover Air Force Base, along with numerous others who had lost their loved ones in war. I said hello to all of the families. Kent horribly lost his wife. Her casket was being brought to Dover, along with the rest, although he married again quite quickly, in my opinion. So he's attacking Joe Kent for marrying someone after his wife got killed while Trump was president in a war zone. So, by the way, it was almost 5 years before Joe Kent got remarried. More than 4 years. That is long enough if we're going to have that discussion. And I'm no fan of Joe Kent other than him resigning over this, but that's just such a sick thing to attack him over. Okay, he remarried too quickly. In any event, and then he tells that story, saying that he felt bad for Joe after he lost congressional races and lost his wife, so then he gave him a position even though he kind of knew he was bad, just to be nice. And then he ends it by saying, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Kent is a loser, just like Tucker, Candace, Megyn. And all the rest of them are losers. You're born that way. Low IQ. And there's not a damn thing they're going to be able to do about it. So the president of the United States is spending time, valuable time out of his day, writing long posts about who he says are random nobody podcasters. Dave Smith said the commander-in-chief bringing up a decorated combat veteran's dead wife, who was also a combat vet who died in Syria, on Trump's effing watch, while he's publicly trashing the guy, is garbage. Just disgusting behavior from a disgusting person. And Dave Smith, of course, supported Trump in the 2024 election, so that's extra notable. And Trump's instability in these types of attacks is coming under more scrutiny and making people wonder more and more and more about what's going on here, as we've been following. And we never got to look at this, but during some White House event, and MS Now put together a spliced up version of what was an 8-minute, I think, story, and you'll see them fast forward through it. Rambles like this are also causing big question marks. Look at what he spent 8 minutes rambling about.
They wanted to go hiking in Peru. Was it Peru? In Peru. And it's known for being a rather rough place in terms of physical creatures crawling around. 28,000 people die a year from a snake bite, a certain snake. It's a viper, right? It's said to be the most poisonous snake in the world. It's so powerful, this snake. It's said to be the most poisonous. That, the black mamba, the brown mamba, and the viper from Peru. You do not want to play games, okay? And this vicious snake and it is vicious. Teeth are like this. Those fangs. These are not fangs you want, sucking on your arm, right? And the power is incredible of animals. Power is incredible. You got hit, and we take a lot of respect. The chances of living from that snake are substantially less than 1%, and that's only if you have the venom. Even if you have the venom, you don't live.
The venom? Is he trying to think of, like the antidote? It's not normal, ladies and gentlemen. It's not normal at all.
My grandfather is, I want to say, 8 years older than Trump and has his faculties about him. And I was talking to him a couple weeks ago, and I was like, can you imagine, like, if you spoke to us the way that he speaks to the country? And he literally was like, you guys would have to put me in a home, and they're just like letting him bomb Iran. And I was like, okay, thank you. Like, I feel gaslit that like this entire room of people, the emperor has no clothes. This entire room of people are just sitting there like, yeah, viper, snake, venom, TV, people, woman, person, clock. Yeah, okay, no, he's perfect. Let him bomb Iran. It's not clocking.
That's such a good point that we sit here and go, that's weird. But number one, if someone who weren't the president were acting this way, you would raise serious alarms about it. And then number two, everyone around him's like, did you see Melania's face? She's like, I don't know. Put this back on screen. She's looking kind of at the crowd like, is this still going on? What the heck is he talking about? And everyone just kind of smiles along. Okay, all right, yes, black mamba, brown mamba, even if you don't have the venom. And then he moves on, so he doesn't know. So he's genuinely confused by these discussions about his mental acuity and stuff because no one's really saying it to him around him or questioning what he's talking about.
I'm not cognitively.
No, I'm not. Bilbo Jenkins said, sorry, Lukey, please forgive me. You're forgiven. I appreciate it. Ian Formose said, you seem to be dissing Australia and our system of government quite a bit lately, Luke. Next, you'll be asking what the heck I'm doing awake at 4 a.m. listening to you. Listening to Do It. Love you and the gang, mate. Thank you so much. Wait, how did I diss the Australian government? I can't remember what I said, but thank you. Thank you for being awake at 4 a.m. watching. It is greatly appreciated. That is today's show. That is the week of main shows. But you're thinking, no, I can't wait all the way until the Monday to get a more show. That wasn't the proper wording. You get it? Tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, bonus show, live, Booze in the News. Kayla will be joining us, right? Still, yes? Cole will be joining me. I will be joining me. And we will have a great time. Everyone can watch for the first half hour. And then we'll switch over and just be doing it for the members. But if you don't see us there, then I'll talk to you on Monday. Much love to everybody. Goodbye.